Howdy. Welcome to the Gateway to the Smokies podcast. This podcast is about America's most visited national park, the Great Smoky Mountains National Park and the surrounding towns. This area is filled with ancient natural beauty, a deep storied history, and rich mountain cultures that we explore with weekly episodes. I am Joseph Franklin McElroy, a man of the world, but also with deep roots in these mountains. My family has lived in the Great Smokies for over 200 years. My business is in travel, but my heart is in culture. Today, we're going to talk about Folkmoot USA, and we're meeting with its executive director, Evan Hatch. But first, a few sponsor message and some events coming up. I want you to imagine a place evocative of motor courts of the past, yet modern and vibrant with a chic Appalachian feel. A place for adventure and for relaxation. Imagine a place where you can fish in a mountain heritage trout stream, grill the catch on a fire, and eat accompanied by fine wine or craft beers. Imagine a place with old-time music and world cultural sounds. There is no other place like the Meadowlark Motel in Maggie Valley, North Carolina. Your Smoky Mountain adventure starts with where you stay. Another sponsor is smokiesadventure.com. That's Smokies plural, adventure singular. The Smoky Mountains and surrounding area is a vacation destination for all seasons. Some of the nation's best hiking trails, waterfalls, outdoor adventures, and family entertainment can be found right here. Start your adventure by using smokiesadventure.com to explore all the wonderful features of the Great Smoky Mountains National Park, the trails, the waterfalls, the Cades Cove and the Elk, and more. Then check out all the awesome family attractions and entertainment you and your entire family can enjoy. Find lodging, find places to stay, find places to eat. Find where you can do outdoor life events like weddings and honeymoons. It's all at the smokiesadventure.com, which is the leading information portal for adventures and experiences in the Great Smoky Mountains. Some events coming up at the Meadowlark. On this coming Saturday, July 23rd at 6 p.m., we're having Smoky Blue Rain. It's a trio of Len Graham, Phil Moore, and Amos Jackson. Their brand of Americana music is an infectious blend of folk, light rock, blues, jazz, and a touch of traditional country. They met through a mutual friend, and their first note realized that they had something special. So come on over to the Meadowlark Motel. There's also a barbecue and other fine things to enjoy starting at 6 p.m. And the admission is free for motel guests and Heritage Club members, and it's just $10 for everybody else. So RSVP is required for the barbecue dinner, so call 828-926-1717 for tickets and come enjoy some food and barbecue. Now, some of you might know that there was recently a viral event on TikTok where a clogger from Western North Carolina, specifically down on Jonathan Creek here in Haywood County, went viral and got seen by like 100 million people. His name's Zeb, and he's part of the Jay Creek Cloggers. And so they're coming to the Meadowlark Motel on July 30th at 7:30 p.m. And we're going to have, it's a great mountain heritage event put on by the Meadowlark Smoky Mountain Heritage Center, and also include an evening of dinner and dancing. It begins with the barbecue at 6, and then the performance of the Jay Creek Cloggers at 7:30, and that's includes music. They will perform a bunch of examples of traditional mountain dancing, as well as teaching the audience several fun dance steps. So it's going to be an interactive performance where everybody will get to dance. And then there'll also be a short talk by Kim Ross, who was on the show here a few weeks ago, on the history and traditions of mountain dancing. So grab your partner and come on by. Admission is free for motel guests and Heritage Club members, and it's $20 for people that are not staying in the motel. Just call 828-926-1717 to reserve your spot. And then a big event we got coming up August 12th through the 13th is a songwriters camp. And this is a serious one. This is Grammy Award-winning songwriters. You got Jim Lauderdale, who's written hits, many of George Strait's hits. He wrote that song, King of the Broken Hearts. And then you got Charles Humphrey III, who's another Grammy Award winner, along with the award-winning artists such as Darren Nicholson, Clay Mills, and Charles Chamberson. And Darren Nicholson is one of the main musicians in Balsam Range, who's big around these parts. So it's going to be a fantastic event. It's going to be a 2-day event of interactive songwriting instruction. So there'll be both panels, but there'll also be working individually with all the artists, with world-class musicians, and then you'll get a demo tape produced of one of your songs. There'll also be a concert on the Friday night by the Songs from the Road band, which is Charles Humphrey's band, and then a barbecue dinner, an all-star concert with all those artists on Saturday night. This is a unique event like no other, and space will be limited to ensure that everybody gets attention. So the songwriter camp is $675 a person. Includes all the activities and demo tape and everything else. And you also can get yourself a room at the Meadowlark Motel if you're coming from out of town. And it also includes dinner and breakfast and things like that. There's also a limited number of tickets available for just coming to the concerts, either on Friday or Saturday night. So call 828-926-1717 to get your ticket and reserve your space. Somebody who knows a lot about events now is our guest tonight. His name is Evan Hatch. He's an expert folklorist with almost two decades of experience as a Grammy Award-winning record producer, event production coordinator, vernacular artist, documentary filmmaker, and recorder of oral history, as well as holding high-level management experience with some of the most prestigious cultural organizations in the Southeast. Evan Hatch is currently the executive director of one of the oldest and most popular educational centers and festivals in the Southeast, Folkmoot, with headquarters right here in Haywood County at Waynesville, North Carolina. He holds degrees from both UNC and Ole Miss and resides in Waynesville, where he enjoys cooking, camping, photography, and reading in his limited spare time. I don't know how he has it in spare time. How you doing, Evan?
I'm good, Joseph. Thanks for having me here. Thanks for making me sound so good.
Listen, when you do accomplishments, it doesn't take much to make you sound good, because you are good. So you said you've only been here for 3.5 weeks. So welcome to Haywood County. All right.
Thank you. 3.5 months, but it has 3.5 weeks. Yeah, it has flown by, my man. It has flown by.
Well, I'm so excited that you got this new job at Folkmoot. Sounds like you're gonna do some great things. But first, I want to talk a little bit about your background.
Sure.
You worked both in North Carolina and Tennessee. Where are you originally from?
I'm actually from North Carolina. I grew up in North Carolina. Graham, North Carolina is my hometown, and I was raised there from, let's say, 1980 until 2000. And so I was born in California actually, but moved around. My dad was in the military for a little while, and then he retired, and we settled down in small town North Carolina, Graham, right down in the Triad.
In the Triad, right? Yeah. I spent a number of years in the Durham, Durham, Raleigh, Durham area.
Exactly.
So the middle of the state is also a lovely place.
Yeah, I'm about 20 minutes from there, but yes, I spent a lot of time there myself. Yeah.
Yeah.
Grew up, did a lot of growing up.
How did your love for folklore, cultural history, and music begin? And
good question, man. And sometimes I've asked myself that over and over and over again. I would say I started college a little bit too early, and I had too good of a time in my first couple of years. After I decided to kind of get serious, I went back to school in 1996, and I started taking classes in what my parents said, just try stuff, find out what you like, see what you enjoy. And I started taking classes in folklore and American studies. And I found that I really enjoyed these classes because my teachers were brilliant. They were so smart and they were so entertaining. And they got to study things that I just thought were super cool. I had one teacher who was an expert on Coney Island in the in the heyday in the 1890s through the 1920s. I had
Wow.
another professor, Robert Cantwell, who wrote a book called Ethnomimesis and also wrote about a bluegrass breakdown. So these books, although very academic and above my head, it was just cool to be able to study, stuff that I thought that, the common, the everyday, the things that surround us all the time. And the history of the folk, I find that to be really, really fascinating. It's hard to look at, it's not really a correct way of looking at it, but if you look at culture, say, and you want to look at it through the lenses of music, you got, your high culture, which is very, very respected and academic. And if you're looking at music, you could say that's a symphony. If you're looking at pop music, you could say, well, that's Lady Gaga, or and then you could start looking at folk music, and it's it's traditional fiddle. It's what people have been playing for years and years for fun, and for living, and for and just to be bearers of culture. And I just find that stuff absolutely fascinating. It often seemed that people respected high culture more, and that there was some sort of inherent coolness and outsider kind of look at folk culture. And I just wanted to
Would you say high culture is actually is more of a just a fashion choice than it necessarily is a quality choice? I mean, I think a lot of folk
absolutely.
music, a lot of folk, what we would consider folk entertainment, is actually high quality, but it's the fashion is driven by decisions that are not necessarily even out in the nature of the music and the arts, things like that, right?
And totally, Joseph. And that stuff combines, right? You think of Aaron Copland, the great American composer. He was writing about American folk subjects. You think of Richard Wagner, who wrote The Ride of the Valkyries. He wrote a symphony, but he wrote it about a German folk tale. So all this stuff's all intertwined and informs one another.
All right. Well, we're hitting our first break already. So I talk too much, but so we will come back and we'll talk more about your background and get into some of the stuff you're doing today too.
That sounds great. Thanks, Joseph.
Are you a business owner? Do you want to be a business owner? Do you work with business owners? Hi, I'm Stephen Fry, your small and medium-sized business, or SMB guy, and I'm the host of the new show, Always Friday. While I love to have fun on my show, we take those Friday feelings of freedom and clarity to discuss popular topics on the minds of SMBs today. Please join me and my various special guests on Friday at 11 a.m. on talkradio.nyc.
Are you a conscious co-creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant, and on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, Thursdays, 12 noon on talkradio.nyc.
Are you on edge? Hey, we live in challenging, edgy times, so let's lean in. I'm Sandra Bargman, the host of The Edge of Every Day, which airs each Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on talkradio.nyc. Tune in live with me and my friends and colleagues as we share stories and perspectives about pushing boundaries and exploring our rough edges. That's The Edge of Every Day on Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC. Uplift, educate, empower.
Howdy, this is Joseph Franklin McElroy, back with the Gateway to the Smokies podcast with my guest, Evan Hatch. So Evan, you ended up graduating from Carolina and then obtained your master's at Ole Miss. And then you had a successful 2-decade career that's actually spanned a lot of variety of interesting fields, and hopefully we'll get into a little bit of that. But the one that jumped out to me, being an artist and performer myself, is that you were involved with Spring-Fed Records and you won a Grammy Award for producing an album with them. So tell me about the Spring-Fed Records and how you became involved, and what was the Grammy Award for?
Moved to Tennessee in 2002, and we started a record label over at the Arts Center of Cannon County. The idea was to highlight some of the hillbilly music that was the proto-country that led to the beginnings of bluegrass music and old-time music. So we took a lot of historical recordings that were in archives, stuff that hadn't been heard except by musicologists or people who recorded them in years, and worked closely with the families to reissue those recordings, cleaned them up on audio, offered really strong liner notes so that people could kind of understand the history of the recordings. The first thing we did was Uncle Dave Macon at home. He was the king of the hillbillies. He was the first superstar of the Grand Ole Opry, and one of the greatest entertainers of country music. We also did a really strong recording with Sam and Kirk McGee, who were co-conspirators or co-creators with Uncle Dave Macon, and one of the first brother duos on the Grand Ole Opry. And all those guys, they understood showmanship, and that still goes through. That still goes through country music today. That kind of joking and the costume wearing and people really engaging with the audience as entertainers. You
had the legendary bluesman John Hurt on there, wasn't it? Didn't you?
That's correct. Yes, and that was actually a recording that was made in '63, long after John Hurt had finished his recording career. And this crazy dude from named Tom Hoskins, drove all the way down from Washington, D.C., and he was going to go pay his respect at John Hurt's gravesite. And when he wound up in Avalon, Mississippi, he found Mr. Hurt still very much alive, put a guitar in his hand and hit record. And that is those recordings from '63. From that, John Hurt says, wow, I can have a chance at a second career. And went back and started playing folk festivals.
That's fabulous. Oh, good.
Yeah, it was pretty neat. We were lucky to do that, work with a family.
And did you have other iconic black artists on there, right?
Yeah. So the one that we won the Grammy for is called John Work III, Recording Black Culture. John Work III was a classically trained composer. But at the same time, this is the 1930s and 1940s. He worked at Fisk University. He also really appreciated folk music. And the brilliant thing about John Work is that he was a classically trained composer. So he could hear music and then write it down in notation. So it didn't have to be recorded, but he could write it down. So he did all these studies of folk music, and he recorded Fraser and Patterson. It was a black string band, country string band in Nashville. He recorded blues music in Georgia and sacred harp singing in Northern Alabama, just stuff that no one ever heard about. He then came to be known. He was picked up, befriended by Alan Lomax, who some of your viewers will probably know, the great folklorist. And together they recorded the Coahoma County study in Mississippi. And the center of that study was a gentleman named McKinley Morganfield, who was later known as Muddy Waters.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so Muddy basically was very flattered to be recorded by these gentlemen. He said, well, if these guys want to hear me, maybe I'll go up to Chicago and become Muddy Waters. And that's what he did. So that was a 1942 recording. That was made. That was some of and all of those recordings were John Work's. And so we reissued those, cleaned up the sound recordings, and did some really extensive liner notes. Bruce Nemerow wrote those, and that's what we won that Grammy for, was best liner notes, best album.
What year did you win the Grammy?
2008, I guess you could say.
All right.
Yeah.
So I don't have all your career milestones in chronological order, but you were an assistant director of an organization called Black and Global Roots. Can you tell me about that? That sounds
That's correct.
interesting.
Yes, sir. I worked with Dr. CC Conway. CC is she's a professor at Appalachian State and is one of the leading experts on the banjo and Black culture. And so she actually was one of the first people to trace those roots of the banjo as it came over from Africa and started to influence American music. Actually, she is, I think, probably the most singular for putting together the Carolina Chocolate Drops. So she hosted them at the Black Banjo Gathering at Appalachian State a few years ago, and kind of put them all together. And they went off to become, Carolina Chocolate Drops. So what she wanted to do, what Dr. Conway wants to do, is to give venues and give audiences to underrepresented folk performers. So she would, we would be playing concerts and being able to pay working artists to give them an audience they wouldn't usually hear, and that ranged from blues to Cajun Zydeco to country music, but mostly from underrepresented artists. Yeah, and that was in Chapel Hill.
Wasn't the introduction of the banjo really brought a percussive element to, say, Scotch-Irish balladeering, and really created bluegrass?
Oh, I would say so. I mean, I know that Bill Monroe, who created bluegrass, has definitely learned a lot that he learned from Black musicians, for sure. I think that's the coolest thing about musicians, right? Is that they are kind of the first anti-racist. They don't care what color you are. They don't care where you're from. As long as you can play music, you speak a common language, and that gets past a lot of stuff,
Oh yeah. So I was looking at, I was looking at your LinkedIn profile, and you have been until, you ever had a company called Narrate. What is Narrate?
Well, that was a probably ill-conceived business that I started during COVID.
What better time to create a business that's ill-conceived?
It seems like everybody did it, though, right? Every feeble-minded person I know started a business during COVID. No, I'm just kidding. It's been a really great.
COVID was where my business went to die.
Well, yeah. So we had lots of time, and essentially it's oral history business. So families or people hire me to do extensive interviews with their loved ones, so that those interviews, while they are well researched and and deeply conducted, then by doing that interview and recording that, then essentially gives the legacy to the family, so that they can hold on to those recordings of somebody, a loved one, before they pass away. And the idea came, everybody always has a story about, I wish I had listened to my grandmother. I wish I had saved her last storytelling, or I wish I had saved that last phone message. And if you don't, it's too late, and it happens to everybody. So try not to make it too late.
No, I have felt that, I did videotapes of my grandmother and her brother, just a year or so before she, died, because I've always felt that need,
Yeah, I'm glad you did it. I'm glad you did it, because everybody's got a story to tell, man. Everybody's got knowledge to pass on.
Now, I don't know this term. Bob, Plott, who works with me, has put together some information. He said this is called vernacular art. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think that's a really good way of looking at it. I think that term, to me, because a vernacular is a way of speaking, and that's what this artwork does. Is it it puts it in a community, it puts it in a place, but it also it's a common language that people share and that's communicated. So yeah, I think vernacular artwork's fair and good way of describing it.
The more I look at your history, you've just done a lot of things. I mean, you were also been an event festival director and coordinator, right? And then you created a documentary film on Southern music. What was that?
Well, let me see. I did a couple of, we did do a couple of documentaries, and I think your viewers might like it if I could plug. There's this great website called folkstreams.net.
Oh,
And it
interesting.
is the best collection of folk documentaries made from the 1950s forward. And they're all available for free, just for streaming on that website. You will find the coolest vernacular art forms on there, anything from music to basketry to, pottery to dance, so all that stuff's really is covered very well. Couple of music documentaries that we made were they were again those reissues. So one, my favorite, I guess, was Raw Mash, and that was Saul Kareen and Blaine Dunlap had produced in the 1970s a portrait, essentially a video portrait of Hamper McBee, who is Tennessee's Popcorn Sutton. Essentially, he was like the greatest moonshiner, the most famous moonshiner in Tennessee history, not to mention a fine ballad singer. He was a great roaring baritone a cappella ballad singer. And that movie, Raw Mash, which is available on Folk Streams, is basically a 30-minute portrait of Hamper, but also how to make moonshine from start to finish.
Wow.
Pretty fun stuff.
That sounds good. Thank you for the reference for that. I'm going to go to that site and start indulging my new passion for vernacular art.
It's a deep dive. It's a deep dive. I hope you like it.
Yeah. And you've done a lot of festivals. You did the local fest in Hillsboro and some others. What is the most notable or fun festival that you helped originate or develop?
Oh man, it was a total failure. But it was the best festival I ever did. It was the National Folk Festival in Nashville, Tennessee. And we didn't have a lot of people. We did it on Labor Day weekend. Not a great idea. Nashville's a free music town, so not everybody came out to it because you can see free music everywhere in Nashville. But the content was amazing. And we did the history of the music business. So we had tour buses. We had Flat and Scruggs tour bus that people could tour. We had a modern tour bus. We had hair cutters and hat show prints, costume makers like Manuel was out there. It was an amazing show.
Wow.
Really
well,
good.
I'm impressed. And what I want to do now is take a break, and then we're going to come back and talk about your new position and what you're doing with the Folkmoot North Carolina, Haywood County.
Thanks, Joseph. Sounds good.
Howdy, I am Joseph Franklin McElroy, host of the new podcast, Gateway to the Smokies. It airs on talkradio.nyc every Tuesday night from 6 p.m. to 7. Every episode is dedicated to memorable experiences in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park and surrounding areas. This show features experts and locals who expound upon the richness of culture, history, and adventure that awaits you in the Smokies. Tune in every Tuesday from 6 p.m. to 7 on talkradio.nyc.
Are you passionate about the conversation around racism? Hi, I'm Reverend Dr. TLC, host of the Dismantle Racism Show, which airs every Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern on talkradio.nyc. Join me and my amazing guests as we discuss ways to uncover, dismantle, and eradicate racism. That's Thursdays at 11 o'clock a.m. on talkradio.nyc.
Are you a small business trying to navigate the COVID-19 related employment laws? Hello, I'm Eric Sauver, employment law, business law attorney, and host of the new radio show, Employment Law Today. On my show, we'll have guests to discuss the common employment law challenges business owners are facing during these trying times. Tune in on Tuesday evenings from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern Time on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc, now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Howdy, this is Joseph Franklin McElroy back with the Gateway to the Smokies podcast and my guest, Evan Hatch. So, Evan, we've been talking about your career and some of the things we didn't get into, but they're incredible, is that you were a director of programming at a folk arts center in Tennessee, and then you were the director of programming for a prestigious organization like the North Carolina Life Institute. But what's exciting to me and those of us around the Gateway, the Smokies, is that you're now taking on a new role as the executive director of Folkmoot. I'm sure you're excited about that. Yeah, and for the sake of our audience who may not know about it, can you tell us what Folkmoot is?
Yeah, I feel challenged by this task because there's so many people in this county, in Haywood County, who know so much more than I ever will about it. And because I've taken this job on 3 months ago, it's become my job to talk about it. My understanding of Folkmoot is that it is a festival that's been around for 38 years, and the organization has been around close to 50. A gentleman named Dr. Border, who was a surgeon here in Haywood County, was a great lover of folk music and took some trips to Europe and experienced some folk festivals, like the old English folk festivals, which were also named Folkmoot over there. And then Folkmoot is an old English term for a meeting of the folk. So essentially, it means folk meet. That's where people come together, they exchange ideas, they exchange culture and dance and music. Probably some beer too, I wouldn't be surprised. But so after seeing that, Dr. Border realized that it's not that dissimilar from what's going on here in the Great Smoky Mountains. There are people who play music, who get together, who share this dance through folk culture. They get together, they sing on front porches, they practice religion together, they dance together. And he thought that this was the parallels between English culture, European culture, and other folk cultures around the world was just all the same. And so it was a great opportunity to get all these folks together to do this, to bring the world to Main Street in Waynesville. So 1984 was the first festival. He had 6-7 groups, I think, from around the world, from Europe, Asia, Africa, and South America, who came here, stayed with local audience members, and got together and danced for one another. And they all realized, well, stuff's all in the folk. We all experience this. It's not that different. It doesn't matter what color your skin is. It doesn't matter what language you speak. There's things that cross all that. And that's the coolest thing about folk culture to me.
I got to see that, one of the, I think in the first year back then, I loved Folkmoot for many years. Yeah. I was just graduating from Duke and coming back and got to, experience it before I had to head off to my career.
Oh man, you know more than I do. That's cool. Well, you grew up with it too, huh?
I grew up with it, yeah. So now, I think back then it was just in Haywood County, right? And it was, right. I think it was at the Stomping Grounds, right? The first few, yeah.
Exactly. Historic, yeah. The Stomping Grounds is historic for folk performances.
So it started out at the Stomping Ground, which is about 3/4, less than half a mile away from the Meadowlark where I'm sitting right now. So it was easy for me just to walk up there and go to it, right? But now, what is it? It's in cities all over the Smoky regions, and as far east as Hickory. Is that still the case?
A little bit's changed. As you may know, COVID changed everything. And so the festivals of the past, the idea was to bring dancers from around the world, to bring them to Waynesville as a central point, and then to take that cultural gathering and spread it out, Hickory, even down into South Carolina, but all, counties all around North Carolina and Tennessee and those things. So it's gotten hard to bring in international groups, especially since COVID. And so the festival over the years became smaller just by necessity. So this year we're focusing strictly on Haywood County and a lot in Maggie Valley. So half of the festival is going to be down here in Waynesville, downtown, and also at the Folkmoot Friendship Center in Hazelwood. And then the other two performances are going to be at the Maggie Valley Festival Ground, which is probably another half a mile away from the Stomping Grounds. Beautiful space. We were just out there today.
Well, they're actually very close to each other. We're only a half mile from the festival ground, so we're all in with you guys on that.
Yeah, you'll be able to hear us.
Yeah, well, you got a staging ground here if you want to take advantage of it. Yeah, we got a nice little pavilion for small precursor shows.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, I mean, I'm always a big believer in creating taste before you create something, do the big one, because it gets people all involved and stuff like that. But
exactly,
this must be a logistics nightmare because you bring in all these people from all over the world and you have to house them. How do you manage all that?
So again, this year wasn't too hard. Well, it's a logistical nightmare. That's fair. I think I have it easier than a lot of the festivals in the past, in the fact that we don't have a lot of international groups this year. So we haven't had to get folks help with visas or anything like that. We have international groups from within the US. So we've got an Irish group coming from Chicago. We've got a Venezuelan group coming from Miami. We have a Ukrainian group, Proman. They're going to be driving down from Wisconsin, all authentic, of their country, but people who are just living here in the US now, practicing it. We also are going to be running a big old hotel that weekend. We have a lot of people staying with us at the Folkmoot Friendship Center.
Oh, that's right. You guys got a big old building there, right? So you can set up some campground sort of thing in there, right?
Yep. We've actually got some bunks, probably a little better than Army style. We also got a great big cafeteria here. We're going to be feeding everybody, trying to use local produce, local food, make sure that everybody gets good, healthy meals before they go out and dance and perform. So,
all right.
Yeah, everybody's staying here. It's going to be a hootenanny.
Well, when you go international again, I'm going to put in a plug for my wife. She has a travel agency and they do all that visa stuff.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, big time.
There's a partner right there. That's great.
They have services that just do that all. That's all they do is manage that. The story I tell is that when we first got together, we wanted to go to. All of a sudden, we decided, like at the beginning of the week, we wanted to go down to Mardi Gras. Well, essentially Mardi Gras. It's called Carnival in Trinidad, right, where she's from.
Oh, Trinidad. Okay.
Yeah, and turns out my passport is expired, but she arranged everything, and within 3 days I got everything. I within from the moment of the decision until being on the plane going down there was 3 days. So, but anyway, things can be done. But let's talk about, and we're talking about. I'm interested in funding. You're a nonprofit, but this has to be costly. Where's your funding coming from?
Well, Folkmoot's got the organization's changed over time. And one of the things that I am very proud of, and I've grown up in this, you don't see too many nonprofits that are entrepreneurial or as entrepreneurial as we are. So that's how I learned a long time ago that nonprofits need to generate income to survive. They're a business, just like any other business. So some things that we're doing here at the Folkmoot Friendship Center, which is a 40,000 square foot historic school dating to 1935, built by the WPA. Thank you, Roosevelt. We have a large selection of schoolrooms, former classrooms that are being rented out by some very talented artists. So we have really great rates where people can come in, rent the space, use it as a gallery, but also use it as a workspace, a workshop, if you will. So we've got weavers, painters, we have glass artists, costumers, and jewelers who rent space here, and that helps to bring in income for us to keep this building
And
going.
don't you ever? I mean, when I've got a tour of that place, a couple of years ago, and they were going to put in a huge coffee shop. There was somebody going to do that. Did that happen? Or did
No,
COVID kill that?
didn't.
COVID killed that,
I
right?
have no idea what happened. It sounds like a good idea to
Oh,
me.
they had plans. It was, there had been some renovation. They were going to put in this like big coffee, shop. It was going to be really interesting or something. There's some place there that's a big open space, probably the previous cafeteria. And,
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, so
And,
it sounded exciting. Yeah.
well, another cool thing about it is one of our renters is the SOAR Academy, which is an experiential outdoor education group, similar to, say, an Outward Bound. But actually, that school is based here at Folkmoot Friendship Center. So half of our building is a school 9 months out of the year for kids who are, benefit from outside of classroom educational. So they're all out in the woods learning survival and, learning how to cook for themselves and learning how to, to go to Costa Rica and speak Spanish, and experiential education is where it's at, a really great program that they're here too. And they use our cafeteria. So that's the problem, is that's why we don't have a coffee shop, is they use that to actually feed the students.
I see.
But they're
Well,
great.
you got a lot of wonderful stuff going on, and one of the things that I do is I'm become something of an expert in memorable tourism experiences, and that's how I've tripled the size of the Meadowlark Motel and what we're doing, focusing on that, which is how do you stimulate flashbulb memories in people so that they keep coming back, and it creates brand loyalty and revisit intention. There's a whole part of that academic study is about cultural and heritage tourism, which I think you should be aware of, because there is a way to really trigger that, to bring people back again and again and again. And I'm gonna send that to you, because I think what you're doing, it's actually perfect. So
Sounds like another partnership.
Yeah, well, hey, I'm always looking for the angle, you know what I mean?
We got to.
So we got to take another break, and then we'll come back and finish up with things that you might want to talk about, and things that you've learned about Western North Carolina while you've been here.
It's cool, man. Thank you, Joseph. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Hey everybody, it's Tommy D, the nonprofit sector connector, coming at you from my attic. Each week here on talkradio.nyc, I host a program, Philanthropy in Focus. Nonprofits impact us each and every day, and it's my focus to help them amplify their message and tell their story. Listen each week at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time until 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on talkradio.nyc.
In a post-COVID world, you may have many unanswered questions regarding your health. Are you looking to live a healthier lifestyle? Do you have a desire to learn more about mental health and enhance your quality of life? Or do you just want to participate in self-understanding and awareness? I'm Frank R. Harrison, host of Frank About Health, and each Thursday, I will tackle these questions and work to enlighten you. Tune in every Thursday at 5 p.m. on talkradio.nyc, and I will be frank about health to advocate for all of us.
Calling all pet lovers.
Pet Avengers, assemble!
On the Professionals and Animal Lovers show, we believe the bond between animal lovers is incredibly strong. It mirrors that bond between pets and their owners. Through this program, we come together to learn, educate, and advocate.
Join us live every Wednesday at 2 p.m. at talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Howdy, this is Joseph Franklin McElroy, back with the Gateway to the Smokies podcast with my guest, Evan Hatch. So, Evan, I'm talking about you're just getting your feet underneath you, 3.5 months into your new position. But can you become the great prognosticator? Tell me what's going to happen in the rest of this year and in 2023 and beyond. Have you been able to form a vision of the future of the Folkmoot?
Yeah, it's a great question. As far as vision, I have to defer to the board of directors on that. They set the vision for the organization, and they've done a great thing. And that is to make this center, the Folkmoot Friendship Center, an inclusive organization for the arts and cultural exchange. It's simple. Not simple. Well, it's simple, but it's not easy. So several ways that we're going to be doing that by making the Folkmoot Summerfest a smaller festival. Then that's going to enable us to do some different kinds of programming in the fall and the spring. So we can do other short, smaller festivals with different themes. Could be beer, it could be food, it could be strictly dance, it could be, any number of things. Any ideas, I'm happy to hear about. In addition, we've got we have monthly concerts through Folkmoot Live. And those are here at the Queen Auditorium, 235-seat theater right here at Folkmoot Friendship Center. Actually, we've been working with a friend of yours, Mr. Bob Plott, to put together Mountain Memories, which are themed shows where storytellers and musicians come together and explore, tributes to past musicians, or, themes such as, could be the Civil War history or food or anything. But really great idea that came from Bob Plott and Mike McLean. Really, really strong stuff. I know that August is going to be really busy. I've got an incredible Ethiopian string band coming in September 3rd that are not to be fooled with. Their name is Kwankwa. We have country music songwriters night. It's going to be on, I think, August 23rd. Forgive me, I may not have that date right, but all those things are going to be lined up. We're going to be doing some great holiday performances. It's basically stay busy, keep the lights on, keep the money coming in, and then write grants for special projects that that we really want to see happen. It's just staying busy. It's like that duck, it doesn't look busy on the top, but underneath he's paddling hard.
Oh, I mean, you've got a beautiful facility, and and you got a great history, and I know that there's been some cutbacks in in certain political organizations here in the area, but I'm 100% behind building, helping you guys build that up, because it's a great cultural resource that people should get the opportunity to take advantage of it, and I'm 100% behind you. I think it's a fabulous thing.
You got a great thing going too, man.
Hey, listen,
The Metal Arc.
Oh, the Metal Arc is, it's about, celebrating the mountain heritage and creating memories for people, and starting adventures. And but I'm an artist as well as a businessman.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, I actually, if you come to the Speakeasy, you'll see a lot of my artwork on the walls, my early artwork from when I was a student. There's a lot of because it's a speakeasy, there's a lot of nudes.
Yeah.
But but that
You're a painter.
I originally was a painter, but where I got some known, I created online performance art where you physically interact with the computer and doing it, and I'm actually in some museums for that.
Oh man, I didn't know that. That's fantastic.
Oh yeah. So but back in the late 90s and aughties, doing that, it was great. I got a lot of attention, but it didn't make a bit of money because nobody knew how to buy a digital performance thing. So I ended up becoming a businessman. But I still do a lot of interesting art and stuff like that. But it's now it's an avocation, not a vocation. Exactly. My vocation was marketing.
That's what I thought folklore was too. Essentially, I try to make a living out of what other people consider a hobby. So it may not be the smartest thing in the world, but I think we're content.
Well, I think that cultural institutions and hospitality share a thing where you can actually express your creativity, right? And the things that you're interested in. So I'm expressing my creativity through the hospitality, in terms of how you design the rooms, how you design the the amenities and things you're giving people. So, so you've been here, in Haywood County now for about 3 months, and besides Folkmoot, what's your favorite? Somebody coming visit here, what do you recommend them go do or go eat, or something that you think is a good tip for somebody new coming here?
Man, shameless self-promotion, huh? I love Papas and Beers, great Mexican food. I first had in Asheville, amazing stuff. The Maggie's Galley, I've been there. I can't stop myself. I keep going back and eating their fresh seafood.
That's a good seafood place. Yeah.
Really great. And of course, the Haywood County Smokehouse. Haywood Smokehouse is a remarkably good place as well. I would say sit on a porch somewhere and watch the sunset. It's probably the best thing you can do in this county. Or get up really early and have some coffee and watch the sun rise. You get either one you want here. And that's probably been my favorite thing to do since I've been here. Just sit down and take a breath.
The relaxation, to be able to sit back and just enjoy the natural beauty here. People love that. I mean, a lot of people, we have a lot of front porches here, right? Because we're classically a motel. So that's a lot of people just come just to sit out and have a party on the stoop. And just look at the mountains, talk with friends, and sit in rocking chairs and enjoy the country living at its finest.
You're right, man. That's the folk gathering spot, the stoop or the porch. That's where the folk gather anyway and share.
Yeah, well, growing up, that was it. The covered porch out front with rocking chairs. Sometimes people would put a couch out there and enjoy life. So, is there some shout outs, some things you want to recognize, or ways you want people to look you up or look at what you're doing, or what's some things that people can find out more information?
Well, if you want to get to know your future ancestors, I would definitely talk about going to my website, Narrate Project, which is a business I'm still running and still love to do. Just this week, I interviewed a former provost at the University of North Carolina who's lived an absolutely fascinating life. And just getting able to talk to people and learn about them, I tell you, there's wisdom all around, folks. It surrounds everybody. And it's a great way to get to know your people. Shout out, we love Orchard Coffee downtown, run by one of our board members, Cobble Tice. Good folks down there. Wanted to say hello. All the people I've met, in this area, I guess, Bob Plott being one of them, a gentleman and a scholar, and really good, as you know, good gentleman to work with. I guess my biggest shout out would be to the staff here at Folkmoot USA, Beth Harvey, Mike McLean, Jody Nichols, Vivian Pappas, and Brett Pinkston, all who are just incredible people to work with. And
what's the website for Folkmoot, by the way?
Folkmoot.org.
Okay. And it's got a Facebook page too?
Yeah, there's Facebook. I'm not a social media person. I'm sorry. But yeah, there's definitely, you can search Facebook and hit Folkmoot, maybe Folkmoot USA. All that stuff on social media is fantastic. And that's all because of Beth Harvey and the work that she does. So, it helps to be surrounded by people who are smart, engaging, and dedicated. Really helpful.
Well, I want to thank you for being on the show today. It's been a real pleasure, and we should definitely have more conversations after this.
I would like that, Joseph.
Okay, cool. Hey, this podcast is on the talkradio.nyc network, which is a live network of podcasts. I recommend you take a look at it. Everybody take a look at it and find some. There's small business. There's all sorts of things. It's also streamed live on Facebook at facebook.com/gateway to the Smokies podcast.
Great.
And It's all the episodes are on smokiesadventure.com. You'll find a link at the top to the Gateway to the Smokies podcast, and you will also see the transcripts and other related information there on each of the different episodes. I actually run another podcast on this network called Wise Content Creates Wealth, which is about AI and marketing and things like that. If you like that, that's on Fridays from noon until 1. But this podcast is every Tuesday from 6 to 7. I look forward to seeing you next week. And everybody, bye-bye.
Goodbye. Thank you.